Hi everyone. One question I get all the time in Diablo 4 is which items should you salvage and which items should you sell? Now for this answer you need to understand a little bit about the player economy, so to say, about when and how to use all of your stuff. So you need salvage materials to upgrade your items. So you want to rank them up to 5, at least in a late game, and this costs certain materials. And on the other hand, you need a lot of gold as well to, for example, extract items, imprint items, and much more importantly, reroll items. If you roll an item and you want to try to get a certain stat, you can easily go into the dozens of millions because you spend 1, 2, 3, 5 million per roll at some point very quickly. So gold is a very important resource, and it is also the main resource used for trading items between players on top of that. And the thing is that the main way to acquire gold is not by picking it up from the ground when you walk through the monsters. They drop 100 gold here and 200 there. That's nothing. If you look at, for example, this item here, it can sell for 22,000 gold, one single item. Some slots can be a bit more, sometimes a bit less. So you see this here, it's 23, 24, 20. So that depends a bit on the item power and which slot. But generally, high level rares sell for something like 10 to 25k or so. And on average, I would say something like 15k. So when you have an entire inventory of 33 items, you sell them all, you get 500,000 gold. Now, on the other hand, your materials tab will fill up pretty quickly, pretty easily. So especially stuff like rawhide actually also drops from monsters. So you just find this everywhere. You see I'm at a cap. Now 9999 as the cap. So if I go here and I start salvaging now, and I select all junk, you're gonna see this gets me every time. So when you salvage armor pieces, you're gonna get rawhide, and then you salvage weapons, you're gonna get these iron chunks and silver chunks, and the same for the jewelry. So you don't find iron chunks and silver chunks that often. You see I'm quite low on some of these here, but you do find rawhide all the time. So at the very least, you won't really have to worry about salvaging armor pieces, because this rawhide just comes in, the superior leather as well, or worst case you can convert them at the alchemist. And you're mostly more concerned about the silver ore here, because that can actually run kind of low. So you can try to click those ore veins whenever you go outside and farming or something. But for the most part, yeah, salvage some weapons and some jewelry there. But at some point, you're gonna reach the point where it just doesn't really matter anymore. And that actually comes very soon in the game. Even veil crystals just keep dropping in a late game. Just elite packs can just drop 2-3 veil crystals here and there. And you see I'm also generally at the cap. And usually the entire screen is cluttered with rawhide and veil crystals everywhere. It's a mess, but that's how the game works. And when I started playing the game, I actually stopped salvaging items really soon, because I realized that I just don't need those materials. You don't really find enough item upgrades to rank them up and actually spend all of these materials all the time. Because yeah, in the late game, yeah, here and there you find a really nice piece and you're gonna hold on to it for sometimes days at a time. And then the higher you go, the less often you replace your items, because you already have really good stuff. And those super OP drops are just really rare. So even on my first character, when I started out, I basically stopped salvaging items altogether at level 60 or level 70 or something like that. And I just never looked back. And from this point on, you basically want to sell everything to the vendor. Everything you find, including uniques, especially uniques, because they're quite valuable. They can have 100, 200k gold or something. And even legendaries. I'm just selling legendaries. So if you have enough of these legendary materials that you need for imprinting and stuff, you see they're also just accumulating. I have been selling legendaries for a long time at this point, and I just have hundreds of these things. They also drop, for example, from events. So whenever you do a cursed chest event or some zone event or something like that, sometimes they drop 3, 4 of these materials. And again, you don't really use them too often in a late game. So you can maybe think about still salvaging legendaries, but at least anything below legendary, you can just mark them like this with space, in case you didn't know that. Go to vendor and then run right click, sells them all. Now, unfortunately, there's no sell all feature, so we have to wait for that, because this is actually what you do. You don't really salvage items. Starting at sacred items at the very least, I would just sell everything. And if you ever run into the situation where you might run low on some of those materials, you can still start salvaging more items of that type from there. But if you consistently sell items, and then let's say you do a dungeon run in 5 minutes, you fill the entire inventory, you get 500,000 gold, it's 10 minutes or 1 million, that's 5, 6+ million gold an hour just from selling items that you find. So basically, even at level 100, you can farm up an entire respec in like an hour or two or so, pretty reliably. One thing to note here, that at least right now, if you mark sigils as junk that you don't want to have anymore, like this, and then you also do this with items, they will be sold to the vendor as well when you sell items. So you see here, they will disappear from my sigil tab, and they're actually here in the buyback. So you want to make sure that you only mark sigils as junk when you are actually going to salvage them, because else you could lose a lot of dust. In any case, TLDR, sell everything as soon as you're in the end game, and if you ever run low on some materials, start salvaging a bit again. But for the most part, it's like sell, sell, sell all the time. And that's about it. Hope you liked this one. I wish you good luck, and see you guys next time.